Hello and welcome. I'm Brian Doxford, President of Prudent Lenders. I'd like to welcome everyone to our webinar today. We are recording the webinar, so I mentioned that just for everyone. And we'll actually, at the end of the webinar, make sure to send a link to it so that you can watch it again and or share it with your colleagues. We'll just really jump right into it today. So I appreciate everyone registering and thank you for your time. Today, during our webinar, we're going to highlight a tool, really you could just call it a dashboard, that the SBA recently launched that conveniently compiles data on really all things SBA. And we'll share some insights that you can and really should explore as you consider growth opportunities for your institution. These could be, say, your growth into new markets or an expansion of your staff. We'll cover how to evaluate loan volume and trends in your market. In doing all this, we'll go through some basic functions of the dashboard created by the SBA to assist you in processing all of this data. Doing so, we believe, will equip you with insight on how you might use this tool to gain insight into your particular marketplace. It's worth noting that the SBA makes all of, call it, this information, or the information we'll cover today, available for public consumption by way of the Freedom of Information Act. I should note here that the SBA sends reports throughout the years, and chances are many of you receive these reports from your local district office. These reports, they rank lenders based on volume, and the reports detail what's happening within the industry. So as an example, reports would detail if lenders are making more or less loans. The reports also detail loan programs most commonly used and provide additional insights. The dashboard we'll cover today draws upon this same information and honestly much more. So we'll showcase the dashboard now. First, I want to give a shout out to an SBA employee by the name of Noah Broad. He's from the San Francisco office. It is he who created the dashboard that we're going to showcase today. And our team really felt like the best way to discuss this tool is really just to jump right into it. So, drum roll, please. Bring this over. Here is the tool, and this is the reveal. This tool really will help us today, during our time together, reveal some amazing insights in terms of SBA trends. It's critical to note that our audience comes from lenders from all across the U.S. And since the audience spans across the U.S., we'll start by discussing some national trends, and then we'll have a chance to zoom in and really run at least one of our own searches to bring a particular market to life. And naturally, it goes without saying, while you may be in a different market, the steps that we'll cover can and should be duplicated on your own, so that based on your own search criteria, you can garner insights into your own particular market. So we'll start here, the SBA lender activity. So we'll provide insights in terms of how to actually use the tool, but it should be said to begin with that you can access everything in this tool, or the dashboard, and I might call it one or the other throughout this presentation, but you can access everything by toggling through these buttons here, and then you can also access everything by toggling through the pages here at the bottom. First, we'll go to lender activity. So here, over the period of time, and I'm going to hover over this with my mouse, from January 1st, 2014 to September 30th, 2019, we can see the top 20 SBA lenders loan sizes and programs most highly utilized. It's clear that we can see that Wells Fargo leads the list. In terms of loan sizes, we can see a breakdown there. And as a first step, allow me to organize the loan programs by volume, and I'll do that by simply clicking this button here. So we have a clear winner, and it's obviously the SBA Express program. You can see that there's been roughly 167,000 Express loans made since 2014. And I'll go on to say that even for a colorblind person like myself, I can see that loan volume has changed dramatically amongst the top 10 lenders over, let's say, roughly the last 6 years. For an example, we see TD Bank here in this color, and if we really dig deeper, we can follow them over the years, and then let's look at them right here. We can see that TD Bank in 2016 made 1,024 loans, and then in the next year they jumped 7 spots in terms of their national rank and made 4,532 loans, moving themselves into the second highest volume SBA lender in the US, at least during that period of time. Now, I mentioned how easy it is to scroll through things, so let's check this out. If I want to go back to the beginning, I simply click backwards, and slide number 1 really just leads me to, call it, the home page. And if I go back, this page would look familiar just based on where we were. And as I navigate forward, here we see some additional information. And I'll showcase this tab and others in detail next. But let's go back to the beginning and let's create our own report to identify trends unique to a particular market. To go back home, I could click here, or I simply go to the report table of contents. That's my home base. And I would say first, out of habit, what I'm going to do is reset the filters. So I've resetted the filters. Now and next, let's run a custom report. As a first step here, let's become familiar with what is found on this page by way of filters. So there are really 3 primary categories. So we have here, you follow with my mouse, the borrower category. We have loans or loan, and we have geography. Here in this area, the underlying detailed data. So data really flows from that, say, that box into all of the reports that we'll eventually create. For the purposes of today, let's start with geography. And here in geography, let's run a search by state. And let's see, let's go with Texas. I'll scroll down and find Texas. And there we go. Now let's explore some of the criteria that we could select under the loan. Let's see. For lenders, let's go ahead and let's select all. And just as an aside, you can, if you want, when you ultimately run your own searches, narrow down your search to your own institution or perhaps your major competitors. In doing so, this really personalizes your search criterion. But for our purposes right now, we'll stick with all and keep things rather generic. In terms of loan programs, let's just look at the 7A program. And then in terms of approval dates, let's maybe adjust the criteria there. So I'm actually going to do this here through what they call the focus mode. And if I click here, I'm going to say that let's let's set a criteria that goes, say, I don't know, a 4-year trend. And so let's go to September 30th, 2015 to 2019. And let me go then back to the report. As for borrower data, let's really not worry about that. We'll just capture as much as we possibly can and see what the reports say it or tell us. So now with our own custom filters in place, let's delve into the data. And to do that, we'll go backwards. First, let me start to organize the data so that it visually is easy to process. So we can see pretty quickly here, based on our organization of the data, who are, one, the top lenders, and what are the top industries that are receiving SBA 7A loans in Texas. This is pretty insightful in terms of just this particular market. And again, we see down here some of the programs that are most widely used. Clearly, the 7A program is extremely popular. But where is all the 7A activity in Texas? So let's dig deeper and answer that question. If I go backwards now, here I can clearly see that Harris County is way out in front. When I look at this county, they have a median loan size of $200,000, and just look at the units, 3,540 units spanned over that period. Let's not stop there at Harris County, which clearly tells us where the most activity is, but let's look at some of the other counties. I'm just going to scroll down here for a second, and let's look at some of the counties maybe that aren't doing as much. So say, for example, that's a good one, Reeves. Reeves County has 10 loans. And if we look at that and we look at the median loan size, that's really just shy of roughly $1 million. I would say to the naked eye, it's basically inferred that in Reeves, the SBA loan programs are being used, I would say, primarily for real estate. And that's just based on the dollar size. But we can drill down a little bit further. And I'm going to do so by clicking on this box to expand. Interesting. So when we do that, let's look at Pecos. 7 loans. I see the amount, and I see the median size. So if my assumption is that in Reeves County, most SBA loans are used for real estate, then at least in Pecos, that is true. But if we look at Zaragoza, that's a little bit different. At least in that particular geography, the median loan size is roughly $125,000. So perhaps it's different, and maybe those are less real estate and more equipment or working capital type loans. As we keep looking at the different counties, let's scroll down to where lending is low. And let's look at some of these areas where, say, there's counties that are making 2 or maybe even only just 1 loan. And let's just ask ourselves, why? And I would further ask, does the lack of loans in these particular counties indicate that competition is low, and that may infer that there's an opportunity for you to make loans in that market? I'm not really sure, and quite frankly, you all know your particular market better than I would, so you'll know best how to answer that question. So in the meantime, I'm going to leave my question unanswered. But when I do look at some of these markets, I do see an opportunity, and my initial assumption is that there are probably some areas in the state of Texas that are underserved by way of SBA activity. But let's keep looking at other things. Let me go back again to another tab. And note the lending program activity here. I'm going to bring this to life by enlarging that. And one can clearly see here that the Express loan program and 7A programs are clearly the top two programs in Texas. And I would say, really, as a spoiler alert, that's true in almost every market. You may be asking yourself, where are the 504 loans? And just remember that in our custom criteria, I actually excluded these. But look at that. That is a big chunk of the pie, the Express loans. Let's go back to this report. Before we navigate away from this page, I think it's interesting to note how there's been a steady increase in loan sizes over the years. So if we look back 2015, the average 7A was 144,000. And the median, honestly, that really, let's see where it ends up at. It grows from 144 to 290. So it really just doubles over that period of time. Also on this page, there's something unique for lenders to look at. Again, this is unique to Texas, but this could and would be unique to everyone's market based on your search criteria. Here I can see that the median interest rate is 6.75, which is pretty insightful, so you can understand where people are pricing, so you can set your pricing appropriately. And we also see that the median term is 120 months. Now let's go to another tab as we keep exploring this tool. And by this point, this page looks pretty familiar. The difference now is that we're exclusively looking at Texas versus the first time that we saw it when we looked at the entire country. Again, here we see the top lenders. We see the various loan sizes, and we see the top programs. And again, the 7A loan program tends to be and appears to be here a front runner. When we look over here, I think it's unique to know we see BBVA. Look over here. There is clearly something happening and some movement at the bank in terms of their volume. It's definitely gone from high to low. Next, I really want to showcase what would be another, call it a practical application of this dashboard. So I'm just going to click back. I'm going to go back to the home page. And again, if at any point I wanted to go back to the information, just simply toggle and let it load. But I'm going to go back to the beginning. And again, as a best practice before proceeding, I'm just going to reset all of our filters. And here, let's look at maybe creating some deliverables around geography. And specifically, let's just see where's the busiest places. Oh, now it looks like it didn't reset my filter, so I'm going to reset one more time here. One of the tricks in terms of doing a hard reset is to simply just reload the page, which is what I just did. Let's go back to lending geography. This is insane. Look how busy LA is in terms of producing loans. Just looking at the next couple of counties, LA produces a loan volume basically the amount or the same amount, perhaps even more, than the next three counties combined, which is outstanding. To make this more personable or personal and applicable, let's look at how you could use this component of the tool. So let's just say that I am representing a bank and I'm in the Northeast, and let's say that I'm considering hiring a business development officer. Let's say that the BDO prospect is based in Philadelphia, and claims to have an extensive network of referral sources in and around Philly. To me, that would sound promising, right? So let's really size their market based on data that we have available here. And to do that, I'm just going to find Pennsylvania on the map, and it's an interactive map, so I'll just go ahead and click that. Let's just make sure that the map is organized by units from highest to lowest, which it now is. And what do we see? Well, clearly in the Philadelphia County area, we see significant volume. And in fact, if we were to look at the surrounding areas, which includes several of the counties shown here, I can see as this hypothetical bank that hiring this BDO may make sense because there's clearly volume and I would want a piece of that pie. Let's look at another practical application of the tool. And to do that, let me go back one page. And let's go to the lending programs. And again, I'm going to expand that for a second. So when I look at this, I can see clearly that the SBA Express accounts for 44.16% of all SBA 7A loans. Now, again, that's a huge piece of the pie. However, I'm curious about the timeline. And if I look at it here through this timeline, I can see that Express loans, while still very relevant, have dipped. And to scroll over now, what are the 7A loans? I can see that 7A loans have surpassed, in terms of volume, Express loans. So what is implied here in that data? Could it be that demand shifted? And the answer is, well, maybe. Since lenders tend to route clients to products that make the most sense for both parties, I believe that this information tells us that lenders are gravitating to loans that yield a higher guarantee. There are plenty of additional reasons why. One could be the fear of, say, maybe a looming recession. I'm not predicting that, but that could be true. I would go on to say that experienced credit folks have seen the market swing enough to begin preparing, say, now for the future. What else do we see here? We clearly see lower utilization of both programs. Another way of saying that is that clients are obtaining conventional loans perhaps more easily. Clearly not everyone is, but we see enough of a dip in both the Express and 7A programs to clearly see that conventional lending is definitely up. I'll go back to the home page. Now, friends, we could explore countless data sets today to really dig into the weeds, but we won't, and I'll spare you from that. In fact, allow you to dig into the weeds on your own. But let's recap some of what we've covered today. So first, one need not be a number nerd or a data scientist to make use of the powerful information that the SBA has made available. Today we highlighted one market to show the relevance of the data that's really at your fingertips. You can, and again, should use the same data to gain insights into your own particular market. Remember, you can create as many custom reports with the filters that you choose to delve into the weeds and to take a very close look at your own market. Become familiar with the top industries receiving loans in your market. I would suggest that you look at your competitors, and with the insights that the data will make available, teach your team what's happening in your market. The SBA updates this information approximately each quarter, and that way, you basically are ensured that you always get information that's up to date. Quick note on that, you'll see that the last information that I have is through September. The SBA is just wrapping up their analysis of what would be the fourth quarter of 2019, and very soon that would be made available. So my question for attendees today is, how will you use this tool? And to help paint a picture of how you potentially could use the tool is, again, a little bit of what I had just mentioned. If I were in your shoes, I would use the tool to help me understand exactly what industries in my market are most prone to go SBA. For me, that would unlock maybe some targeted marketing campaigns and help me at my bank identify where our institution can carve out its own niche. As we wrap up, I think that the uses here are, honestly, they're infinite. What I'll do is I'll make sure that everyone receives a link to this powerful tool, and if any institution would like additional assistance or has follow-up questions regarding today's material or the dashboard, I would invite you to contact me, reach out to me directly, and I'd be happy to make myself available to field any questions. With that, I would say thank you for your engagement and attendance today. And remember, if you ever have a deal that sits on the margins of your conventional lending box, feel free to give us a call, and we can help you determine if the loan would work with an SBA guarantee. And again, if anyone has follow-up questions regarding the dashboard, please be in contact. Thanks again. We appreciate your tuning in today, and we'll follow up with the link and the recording. Be well. Cheers.